one of the disservices that we do to ourselves as players is that we think playing fighting games is about being right. And that is not true at all. Fighting games are not about being right. And I have often said this in lessons and even on commentary, but if you play a perfect game of Street Fighter 6, that does not mean you win 2 rounds in a row with 2 perfects. Because you have to gather information about your opponent. The perfect game is that you are gathering information on your opponent so that you know their tendencies and you can exploit said tendencies. And you're not gonna find out what their tendencies are unless you try some dumb, risky thing, not knowing what they're going to do. But if I knock somebody down and I walk up and try to hit him and they ODDP at the very beginning of the round, like, I got hit, but I also got a lot of information. And so, like, maybe I'm just experimenting. And in the first round, this guy that I'm fighting just happens to be a super combo guy, and I'm fighting him and I'm trying to gather information. And you know what? Those times that I'm wrong might result in him winning that round, because I'm wrong like 2 times at the beginning and he does like crazy combos and I have no life, and then he throw loops me to death in the first round. But I'm like, oh God, I've fought players like this before. Okay, I know exactly what he's like now. And then the next 2 rounds, you just like beat the snot out of them without barely losing any life, right? That's a perfect game of Street Fighter. You lost a round and you may have lost a little life. That doesn't mean you played bad. It doesn't mean that you did anything incorrectly. It just means that you spent a round, which is a resource, learning your opponent. Again, it's why we'll see top players over and over again, time after time. A top player will fight somebody that we've never seen before on stream, and in the first game, the top player looks super human. They're like super vulnerable, and you're like, whoa, you know, what's going on? This guy might upset him. Oh my God, this is crazy. And then the next game, like the guy, the top player basically doesn't even let the other guy move and basically gets 2 perfects and kills him, right? It took a little bit more than a round to assess the other player. It was close and he still won it. But then the second game, he's like, I have all the information I need, and you die. So again, get the notion of I can't be wrong out of your head when you play fighting games. You have to be wrong. You have to be wrong in order to be right, is the best way to put it, right? Now, there are times you're just gonna be right from the very beginning. You're like, bam, you hit him, you're like, I think this guy's just a button masher. And then you just like frame trap them to death. And they mash buttons the whole time. You get 2 perfects in a row because they're button mashers. And you're like, sick, you know? But like a lot of the times, that's not gonna happen. 99% of the time, that's not gonna happen. So in order to figure out how to beat your opponent, you have to take risks. You have to make uneducated guesses. And yes, people are right. In fighting games like Street Fighter 6, especially with the strike, throw, shimmy, it's a guessing game, right? But that's only against an opponent that you've built no knowledge out of, right? Eventually, you can beat. Look, so for example, I had a match against a Ryu player with Kimberly recently, right? And oh God, like I was so happy about this, right? So I was fighting the Ryu player here, and what happened is I got this on him, okay? He's gonna jump back, right? I got this on him, right? And then I was like, whee! And he wasn't very happy about that, right? So I landed this on him. And that's like, what? It's like 6,000 damage right there, right? It's like, sucks to be him, right? Kind of thing. And so, like, during the course of the next few games we were playing, I just kept doing this. And instead of jumping backwards, he just started doing this, which was nothing, right? or even in the middle of the screen, he would just walk backwards. And I never drive rushed at him ever again, but the thing about it is, I kept doing this and he would never jump because he got scared, right? So I took this big old risk to go for that, and it worked. But now I knew I had him in that mindset, and then at the very end of the game, I needed to kill him. This was not even in the same game. This was in, like, I did that to him in game 1, and I think he might have beat me in game 2 or something like that. We're in game 3 or whatever. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I just did this. All right, so I went with because I had a level 3 and I had scared him enough and he was never jumping. So I was like, okay. So I was like, cool, you know, and then I won, right? And so again, like, but that happened because I took a risk earlier on, because I tried to do something and I gained this information, etc., etc. The point being is that you're always gathering information. And the thing about it is, if you're not thinking that way, like, you would land this on a Ryu like this. You would land this on a Ryu like this, and you'd be like, haha, and you get the big 6,000 damage. You're like, I'm sick, Twitter clip, let's go. You know, be proud of yourself or whatever like that. And then you're just like, I landed that sick combo, cool. But the thing about it was, it's like, that's not what you should get out of that. Is you should get out of that, I fucking scared him. He's now going to be really scared to jump back. Because he probably doesn't know a lot of Kimberly's other tricks, right? Obviously, if you're fighting a top player, the top player knows, okay, I have to be careful of this, blah, 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 blah. But if you're playing on ranked, you're like, okay, I've scared this guy. This situation that I created off of him jumping backwards is now something I have literally traumatized him with, right? He did not enjoy this at all. And I knew that because every time I did this again, he never jumped again. He just never jumped. And so I was like, all right. So I took that situation where I got to land my cool shit, but it was information. It was a storyline, and I kept remembering the storyline. So the next time I would do this, and I just wanted to see what he did nothing, and I just kept doing that. And so by the time I got to a last round where I was like, I have enough damage to kill him with a good level 3, how am I gonna land a level 3? It was like, oh wait, I remember this, put the pieces together, bzz, go ahead, okay. And that was the end of the game. It's so important to understand that everything that you're doing in the games and the rounds should be information. And to kind of include with that as well, that you're going to be wrong a lot. You're going to be wrong a lot. Oh, dude, I didn't even see it was Tetris Time who actually put down the raid. They're probably long gone by now, but shout out to Tetris Time. Obviously, very, very strong NES Tetris player. SF6 ranked should be first to 3 matches. You mean round? Or you mean 3 out of 5? You mean 3 out of 5? You're gonna have so many people just end it before that. You're gonna have a lot of people end it before that. However, the one thing that you want to try to, and again, I'm particularly wired in a certain way that makes me strong in this, because I have a very, very high emotional quotient. So what happens a lot of the times is I'll, like in Street Fighter V, when I got to very high diamond or whatever was above diamond, I don't remember, like I got pretty high rank in Street Fighter V, and you do tend to run into people over and over again. I have this thing that, like, I remember things via emotion. And so sometimes I'll fight somebody, I'm like, this Balrog is a spaz. He just keeps pressing buttons. And then he murders me. And I'm like, ugh. And I just keep playing. I don't remember the username. And then I'll run into him again, and I didn't realize it was him, and he'll do something, and it just triggers something in my head, like, God, this is that guy again, right? But still, I would then take the knowledge I gained from the first game. So this is a true story. This actually happened. I fought a Balrog who just mashed all day. Every time I did any, just mashed. So I just started doing crouching medium kick, light burn kick, crouching medium kick, light burn kick with Lucia, and every time I hit him, I knew he was gonna mash again. So my crouch medium kick would hit him into another burn kick. And I was like, most players would learn and block. Nah, crouch medium kick, burn kick, crouch medium kick, burn kick, crouch medium kick, burn kick. I hit him like 5 times in a row and he died, right? But I did that right away the second time I fought him because I was like, oh God, it's this guy. And so again, it's very important to learn that. And when you start getting into the higher ranks, you do tend to run into people a lot. So you'll see a lot of people watching streams and be like, oh God, I ran into that guy earlier. Or, you know, some people like, oh, I remember this guy. Or somebody else will, like on Twitter, someone would be like, you know, there are Honda players out there that are like crazy. And somebody else responded, I know exactly who you're talking about. You know, so, you know, yeah, 3 out of 5 would be better, but, you know, early on, it's not as necessary. And then once you get into higher ranks, you'll be running into the same guys a lot. And that's where you're gonna start learning how to do that once you get into 1800 MR, right? Like once you get to that vaunted space, which I haven't even gotten to, right? But once you get into that position, you'll be able to run into people over and over again, and that way you can practice learning the player and such. So early on, you know, first of 3 is a little overkill because I don't think you need to fight someone for that long, you know? Oh dang, Coupon Raid. Hey, what's up, Coupon? How's it going? What I would like is that, you know, first to 2 kind of be mandatory. I guess, but the hard part is if you do fight somebody and their connection sucks, or if you fight someone and they're legit just like, you know, griefers, all they're doing is throwing you and then teabagging and then throwing and they're just assholes. Like, you should have the ability to one and done people. But the thing about it is, what they're not doing correctly is that if a person is a griefer, or if somebody is, you know, has a terrible connection and whatever like that, you just don't want to play them. So what they should do is, if you win a match, like, if you win the match and quit, you only gain half of the points. And the other person only loses half of the points. Or something like that, right? But if you play and win 2, you'll get the whole thing, right? And that way, if you're legit just quitting because you're not just trying to run away from a good fight, you know, and it's legit, like, I just don't, like, this it's like a slideshow, I can't play this. You don't care about the points, you just, it's a miserable experience and you don't want to play that way. But that way, if somebody beats you and then it's just like, oh, I'm gonna leave, you know, like, just kind of trolling you, that's not possible. If you lose and quit, whatever. You know, it's like, whatever at that. But I mean, like, I think people would get mad at that too. So again, it's a very hard problem to solve. It is a very, very, very hard problem to solve.